Training is good. What I expect to see from DC is a hardworking team that is organized and competes extremely well and has some really good players, and so challenging team to play against and physical team to play against.
Great. If you have a question on the Zoom, please go ahead and raise your hand, and we'll start here in the room. Ben?
Yeah, we were just kind of looking at DC, obviously, first year for Troy Lesson, and it feels like it's maybe at the start of kind of a longer-term project for them. Just kind of what have you seen from them and how they kind of approach the game?
Yeah, I think they're aggressive and they set traps really well and compete. They use Benteke really, really well and are effective in what they do, and I think they're dangerous and present some extreme problems. Yeah.
Got it, another Ben.
Yeah, I mean, kind of just want to follow up on Benteke. I think he's doubling the next closest person just in terms of like aerial duels one. And just kind of an insane physical presence. How do you even prepare for that? And is it more of trying to stop the ball, like stop the pass before he even gets to him instead of trying to deal with him once he has the ball? Yeah,
I think it's a little bit of both of trying to get pressure on the ball so they're not playing, uncontested long balls into him and making it difficult on the passer, but also make sure that we have the right amount of numbers around him and pressure around him to make it difficult for him to receive the ball easily. But they're both difficult things to do, and so he is an extreme physical presence and has done a really good job of causing many teams in the league problems, but definitely a focal point for us. Yeah.
Claudia?
Rumba, was it the first half of the previous game perhaps the worst defensive display of this team? I'm not saying this or not, but how did the guys take that after the game was over and the score really didn't go up anymore and play a fairly decent second half? How was the feeling afterwards this week?
I think there's mixed emotions because we gave up 4 goals in 11 minutes, so I don't even think it's the whole half. Right? If you look at it and you look at it in 15-minute blocks, I think for 30 minutes of the first half, we were good. We started well. We had an extremely poor second 15 minutes, and then the third 15 minutes, even down, playing down a man for most of that, I thought we were good. And so I think there's mixed emotions of we squandered chances and put ourselves in bad spots. But I think when you come through, I think, again, our club is prides ourselves on defending well. And in the second half, we still showed that we could defend well and still get back a goal. And so I think also the guys were, happy about the effort that they put forth. And even at that point, it's still tough to score, with the score being what it was, it's still tough to get guys off the field, guys who wanted to compete and play all the way through, regardless for the club. And so I think it's mixed emotions of what we could have done better and the positive things we could take away from it.
It's usually easier to say that a team is playing well when you see Miami coming here or going to Columbus because of the position they are in the league and the way they're playing. But how difficult it is for you as a coach to actually say, well, this is the way that it's going to go against a DC United team that maybe is not the same as these guys in terms of what they're producing? Is it just because they're not having a good season, or just because they could have been better even with the efforts they've done before?
I think with them, I think they're within the league. There's so much parity, right? And so I think that it's difficult. I think any team can go on a run at any moment. We lost to New England and then they won, 4 or 5 straight and jumped in the table. And so they weren't a bad team before we played them. I think DC is a very dangerous team. I think just like us, there's moments in games that haven't gone well for them, just like they haven't gone well for us at times. Like when you look at Columbus or you look at Miami, giving up 3 goals on set pieces against 2 teams that are extremely good in the run of play is unfortunate. And I think that they've had different opportunities like that where they've had been on the wrong side of moments, but their quality have scored a lot of goals, and they're a tough team to play against. So it's always difficult to play against teams who are at any point in the standings within the league.
We'll go to the Zoom now, starting with Valer.
Hey, Rumba, we've seen that Randy Young has came back to some training, but I just wanted to see how close are we to seeing Randall Leal and Valkydoy and Lucas McNaught back on the pitch for Nashville SC?
I think we're close to seeing those guys back. Randall and Godoy are both training, and I think we'll be back sooner than later. And then Lucas is running, Lucas is doing stuff, and so I think hopefully we'll get to see 2 out of the 3 in the very near future.
Go ahead if you have another, Valer.
All right.
All right, we'll go to Jacob Shames next. You might be muted, Jacob. And we'll go to John and come back to Jacob. Go ahead, John.
Hi, Rumba. My apologies if you've addressed this already, but wondering if you could talk about the fact that BJ Callahan has been named head coach and what your relationship will be like with him before he takes over, and I guess maybe if you knew of him before this, or if you had a relationship before he'd been named head coach.
No, I didn't have a relationship before he was named head coach. But just like anybody here at the club, I hope to build a very good and positive relationship with him to make sure that we push the club forward. I think he's a great hire for the club. I've watched what he's done with the national team. And so it's a very exciting time for the club. It's a very exciting time for me. So I think just like anybody, want to make sure that we have a really good relationship, so make sure we push the club forward.
And go ahead, John, if you have a second.
Yeah, if I could just follow on that. I guess obviously he's not going to be taking over for another couple of weeks or so. But how will it work between you and BJ in terms of input that he might have or offer over the next couple weeks?
Well, we've been in contact, and so we're already working on building a relationship and making sure we're sharing ideas. He's been very open, I've been very open, and I think we see and have a lot of commonalities in the way that we think about football and the way we think about the club. And so it's very refreshing to get to spend time and have interactions with somebody who sees football similarly.
And we'll try Jacob again.
Yeah, Rumba. I guess maybe following up a little bit on John's last question. I guess what are maybe some of the commonalities that you mentioned that you think you and BJ kind of share as far as your soccer?
Yeah, I think we both want to be proactive. I think that we both want to affect the game positively, offensively, and defensively. And I think we both want to make sure we concentrate on our team as much as possible. And so I think that there's a lot of commonalities, and I think we want to both push the club forward for sure.
Yeah, I mean, training, it's good to get more of a prolonged week going into this game. Obviously, it's going to be another 3-match week. But yeah, DC, I think that they pose a lot of issues, a lot of problems. They're a high-energy team. They can score a lot of goals, are good on set pieces. So, I think that with this week, with 3 in-conference opponents, it's going to be a really pivotal week for us. So just wrapping our heads around that, preparing ourselves physically, mentally, and tactically.
Great. We'll start in the room. Ben?
Yeah, Alex, just kind of looking back to the Portland game, I'm just kind of curious maybe what the feelings are after that, maybe knowing that the scoreline was pretty bad and that 11-minute period was pretty bad, but the rest of the game, maybe some positives to take. Just how do you guys react to that?
Yeah, I think you kind of summed it up. It was 11 minutes where they were, with 4 attacks, they just were super efficient and kind of put the game to bed in 11 minutes. When I thought for the rest of the game, I think we acquitted ourselves pretty well. Down a man, I think we showed that we have a lot of fight, that we were able to, obviously it doesn't matter, but down a man, it's 1-0, if you look at from 10 men on. So I think that, we have a lot to learn from that. When you play out of conference teams, you want to go for the win overall. So losing 1-0, losing 4-0, obviously it feels different, but ultimately it's the same amount of points lost. So just have to move forward. I think that results are pretty friendly to us around the league. I think a lot of teams didn't really capitalize on their out of conference games. So yeah, I think that just have to put that behind us and move forward.
Go ahead, Ivan.
Yeah, and just kind of looking to DC, obviously Christian Benteke is kind of just an insane aerial threat, but they also give up tons of chances at the other end. Just kind of how do you balance wanting to be careful not to give up opportunities, especially to him, but also knowing that you could probably get some space to work with on the other side?
Yeah, I mean, I think with DC, you know, they're going to create, especially with Benteke. He's always going to be a physical presence and someone who can threaten the goal, especially on crosses, on direct play. I think that for us, it's going to be about second balls is going to be a big part of the game. It's going to be about competing. DC, especially when I was with Red Bull, DC was always just a bloodbath, and it's going to be a game of who wants it more. And once you win that battle, then it's going to be about finishing the chances you do get. So obviously for us, coming off 3 games where we haven't been able to win, this is going to be an important one, and against an opponent that we know pretty well.
Go ahead.
Alex, it seems like, just taking back to the last game, not the example of the many goals you got scored against 11, but the actual whole game, it seems like that's been Nashville's season so far, up and down, with the same game where you guys look awful sometimes, and sometimes you look like the old team that used to beat just about anybody in this league. What can you explain that from the player perspective? What happens there?
I think that's perception is a really powerful thing, and I think that if the message outside is that we're not the same team that we were, or that we used to be better, we weren't anymore, I think that's other people's perspectives. I don't think inside that permeates at all. I think that we know exactly who we are, we know what we can do. There's going to be moments in a season, especially when they're in the dog days of summer, which I think we're entering now with all this congested period, that you're not yourself. And I think that it's more about staying in tune mentally, staying strong mentally, staying emotionally stable, which I think we're able to do because we have a lot of veteran presence. So I think that obviously, it hurts to get 4 goals scored on you in a game, and I think that's not something that we're used to at all. But, a season is not won or lost in 1 week, and I think that we're going to have to, just be mentally strong and stick together and use these experiences to make us stronger. And hopefully by the end of the season, we've learned something and we've come out a more galvanized, more polished team.
With the upcoming arrival of BJ as a coach, from the player's perspective, what does it mean? Not in terms of an opportunity, because you're still with the same team, but in terms of the new ideas he might bring to the team, how does the player see it?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is one of the first times in my career that this is happening. I had one time where a coach changed, but it was a little bit of a different situation with Jesse going, and we had Chris just kind of ready, waiting in the wings, and I think this is going to be a new experience for me. So I'm curious to really see what it feels like. I think from my personal perspective, for sure, it's just a chance to get a breath of fresh air, to get a new voice, and I think that Rumba has been that, and I think that we've really enjoyed and been grateful for his presence and his ideas, and I think that BJ is just going to be another iteration of that, and someone who that we're going to have to get to know, and he's going to have to get to know us. But I'm really excited about our collaboration and what he can bring to the team.
We'll go to Valera on the Zoom.
Hey Alex, there are a lot of teams in the Eastern Conference sort of around each other and close to Nashville SC in terms of points. As a player for yourself and the rest of the locker room, how closely are you monitoring the teams around you and seeing where you rank pretty much every week? Yeah,
I mean, I think that obviously, after games especially, you check out, see what's going on around the league, see how the most recent results have affected your standing. But I think we're more keeping an eye on them to see how they are as competition, and less about, where do we stack up in the table, because we're definitely getting to the end, but there's a lot that can happen. I think we've seen, especially in the past, I've seen a lot of teams in the Western Conference who are just out of playoffs all year long, and then they'll make a surge, and then they'll have an amazing playoff run, and they'll be in a good spot in playoffs. So I think that still I'm not too worried about results. It's more about getting to know our Eastern Conference competition and really seeing how we can stack up against them in a competitive aspect.
We'll go to John.
Hey Alex, I know you touched on BJ Callahan a little bit earlier, but just kind of curious, have there been much interaction so far between players and BJ, whether it's just, Zoom or anything along those lines, and if you've got some sort of broad ideas of philosophies that he might want to incorporate when he steps in later this month?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's reached out to pretty much the whole group. Is my feeling. I think he's kind of tried to introduce himself and create a dialogue with players, which I think that as humans, I think we all appreciate that, and I think that it's a good step because obviously it's a relationship. When you're even a coach and player, it's still a relationship, and we're still coworkers. And I think that taking that step to introduce himself and just to get to know guys from a personal standpoint, I think it's going to make a big difference when it comes to then implementing whatever his philosophy is. I haven't gotten too much of an idea of what he wants to do in specifics, but I'm sure that's going to come, and maybe there's other guys in the group who have. But yeah, no, I think that he's done a pretty good job, it seems, of trying to reach out, to connect, and to get to know everybody.
And John, I see your hand still up, so go ahead if you have a second.
No, I'm sorry, I'm good, thank you.
Yep, you bet. Jacob on the Zoom.
Yeah, Alex. I guess after a loss like that on Sunday, I guess going forward for the week ahead of this game, do you guys after a loss, do you guys maybe dwell more on the negatives from a loss like that, or do you try to look and see if there are any or do you try to focus more on the positives maybe that have come out of the game? Anything you think you guys can build off of? Yeah,
I mean, I think it's always, especially directly after a game, you're always going to be emotionally charged. You're always going to be looking at things maybe not in the most objective sense. And I think as time passes after the game, you're able to look at it more objectively and try and break it down so that you can use it as a learning tool, so that you can kind of file it away and understand what happened and make peace with it and move on. So yeah, I think immediately after the game, there was definitely strong feelings about it, as there should be, because I think we're all competitors. We never want to get beat by 4-1. We never want to feel like we gave a game away in such a short amount of time. And then I think with a little bit more time, a little bit more analysis, we're able to take it as break it down and see what was positive, what was negative, areas where we let ourselves down, areas where we actually did well. So yeah, I think that we've been able to analyze the game, work through our emotions, and look at it with a more objective lens.